What was Dr. Fauci trying to cover up? Like, was he trying to cover up the EcoHealth Alliance funding of this research? Was
I
he
think it's
trying to
bigger.
cover
I
up?
think it's
Do you believe that he has culpability in actually releasing this virus? Do you believe that this was meant to rig the election and destroy the MAGA rallies and Trump's economic victories in 2020?
I
Do you
probably
believe this was
wouldn't
a
go.
bioweapon?
I probably wouldn't go that far. What I would say is that he was trying to protect the business of science. So science, we want to think that the scientists that work in cancer research want to cure cancer and they should win the Nobel Prize and that they're noble people and honorable people. But there's also the business of science, and it's run by billions and billions of dollars. Anthony Fauci was the head of the business of science ever since 9/11. After 9/11, we became more concerned with biological warfare, so we directed billions and billions of dollars into biological warfare research, ostensibly to defend against it. But there was a lot of things being experimented upon that actually could either be for defense or could be for offense, because many things are dual use. But he became in charge of all of that money. Now, if it became known that a virus that killed 15, 18 million people, which COVID did around the world, if it became known that he knew about it and didn't provide oversight and that there were safety lapses because this was done in an unsafe lab in China that doesn't have the same safety protocols and that he approved it, then he would have culpability, and that the business of science might get less money. People might say, well, maybe we shouldn't put billions of dollars of research into creating viruses that don't exist in nature that might kill us all. That doubt and that problem is why he had to vehemently deny it. But he also didn't want to face culpability for those deaths, frankly. He shares some culpability. Now, I don't go so far as to say, oh, we tried to do it on purpose. He tried to kill people. No, I think it was an accident. I think the leak from the lab was not purposeful, but was accidental. But you still, if you preside over an accident that kills 18 million people and you're an air traffic controller and two planes run into each other and hundreds of people die,
Yeah.
you're no longer the air traffic controller. One of the
Yes.
punishments is, and it doesn't mean you were made necessarily an evil person, but you made a horrific error. Fauci made the largest error in modern medicine and in public health policy probably ever of someone. And for that, he deserves the rebuke of history, but he also deserves never to be in a position, nor should his lieutenants be in a position of managing any of our taxpayer money again, because they made such a profound mistake to fund dangerous research in Wuhan without adequate safety that led to the deaths of 18 million people.
You've referred Dr. Fauci for criminal prosecution to the DOJ. I just love to get your overall assessment. One, of this remarkable clip. Why is he shaking? And then two, what's going to happen to Dr. Fauci?
Well, the exchange where he does lie to Congress is over gain of function. This is where you take two different viruses, combine them or combine the genetics for them, and you create a new virus that doesn't exist in nature that increases its transmissibility to people or its infectiousness or its lethality to people. And he's saying, no, we never funded this in Wuhan. They did fund it, and it was gain of function. We now have private emails that were discovered through FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, that show that he knew that he had done this. And so the reason I think he's shaking is he's concerned because he's been caught in a lie. And we're not done. I referred him twice for criminal prosecution in the Biden administration. I've referred him once for criminal prosecution to the Trump DOJ. We have worked with the Trump administration and finally gotten every document, just about every document you can imagine. We've been going through these for months now. We found evidence that he destroyed federal records and he directed others to destroy federal records. These are separate crimes. Now, there is a question whether or not his pardon will cover that. And we've asked him to come and testify. And people say, well, why do you ask him? Why don't you make him? Because the way the process works is you ask people first, and if they will testify, then you don't have to subpoena them. If you do have to go to a subpoena, then there may well be a court challenge, and we have another battle that we have to fight as well. So right now there is, we have asked him for information about his conversations and his use of non-governmental means of communication to do federal work. And we're going to look at what he gives to us in the next week or two. We're going to see if he will voluntarily come in and testify. But if he doesn't, we will subpoena him. So our hope is that we get a voluntary appearance. But at the very least, he's going to have to answer our questions concerning gain of function, but also destruction of records. If you'll recall, when they brought in one of his colleagues, a David Morenz, who worked with him at the NIH, Fauci acted like, oh, never knew him, hardly ever saw him. We have dozens and dozens of emails over years between the two. And Morenz was the one who said, oh, yeah, we had this FOIA lady over there who taught us how to avoid searches and requests. So what they do is they'd take, like, there was a virologist by the name of Christian Anderson who got an $8 million grant from Fauci after he supported Fauci's request to write an article saying that this couldn't have come from a lab, it had to come from nature. What they did with Anderson's name is it had a bunch of S's in it. They changed the S's into dollar signs so they wouldn't show up on a FOIA search. What I think is ironic about it is he was out there looking for money and shilling for money all the time up here. So they changed the S's in his name to dollar sign to avoid FOIA searches. There are a lot of shenanigans going on. Things that really, you talk about Watergate or you talk about scandals, they all pale. The COVID cover-up, I wrote a whole book on this, Deception, the Great COVID Cover-Up, because there's never been a cover-up more thoroughly documented, because we got most of their conversations, we got most of their emails, and we've seen them behind the scenes saying, oh my goodness, I'm pretty certain this looks like it was manipulated in a lab and came from a lab and not nature. Almost simultaneously, they're saying in public, no way, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist if you think it came from a lab. So publicly saying one thing and privately the other, probably so remarkable to ever catch somebody in such a cover-up.